Welcome to another episode of Soulstenance. This episode was a lot of fun. Joe and I get into some of the elements of things I'm currently experiencing in life and how much courage it takes to expand into the unknown, especially when we feel it in our, like as a soul, in our gut, our instinct. We have to make this decision, this voice, this thing that keeps getting louder and whispering and whispering and whispering and whispering. And are you going to take the action? Are you going to make the move? Even though it might be scary, people might not understand it. It might be something you've never done before. There's inherent risk involved. And you know you have to do it anyways. And all the beauty that can ensue and some of the important lessons along the way. So we hope this is an impactful episode. We had a lot of fun recording it. And without further ado, we'll let you dive right in.
Yeah, I think that's neat, man. I'm excited for you. And I think it's gonna work out brilliantly. Whether that's like exactly following your plan or wildly different, I think it's gonna be great. Man, it's pretty cool. And they're all choices to like improve your connection with yourself, improve your life, stepping into that self-care and that self-love in scary and some ways that seem countercultural. But I think so much of that is just like baggage that we carry about things we don't even know. I love what you said a minute ago, like things that are coming up in a relationship inside you that you're not even sure are inside the other person. Like you're having these
mind
like, reads, conflicts, like whatever else that might not even be there. And I think we do the same thing with our society and how we deal with money and other stuff. It's like, man, this is going to cause me so much shame. And it's like, says
it
you.
Isn't?
Says you. Like, says, you are the only person that...
I would say you. I'd say your baggage or your mind. No, not you.
That's
right?
better said. It's not you.
I feel what you're saying. I feel like I need to add that layer.
No, it's a really good clarity. It's like, that's your baggage talking.
It's not you, and it's probably not even them. It might be.
And it might be.
But I don't know yet.
But if it is, it's also probably their baggage. And it's like, that's not how we want to operate our life.
No. No.
But appreciate the lessons as they come, and I think that's, and you are, and I think that's what's so neat about like stepping into this. It's just like, this is a huge part of you continuing to become and be the person you desire to be and who you are. In alignment with that.
It's so big. Like, so my grandfather, he was in his mother's womb when she immigrated from Greece.
Yeah.
They lived in Chicago, very poor part of the town. And him and my grandmother eloped against all their families. I mean, he was Greek Orthodox and she was Irish Catholic. They eloped and took the money they had, which I think would have, it just like kind of asking for favors, saved everything up. And I think it would be like today, I think it was like 5,000 or something. With inflation, I forget what that is. And they just drove from Chicago to California. Didn't have a plan. They're just like, we're eloping and we're going to make our life in California. We're going to seize the American dream. And in doing that, so he was brilliant. He was a risk taker, though. He gambled in Las Vegas 90% of what they had, and they hadn't even made it to California yet. And my grandma almost killed him. And they get to California with 10% of what they left Chicago with.
He gambled
no plan.
And lost.
Lost in Vegas.
Okay, that's an important part of the story. All right.
Yeah, lost. So, I mean, the faith and the cojones, the courage, the balls, the faith, the confidence, they are an American inspiration story in that sense. And he somehow foresaw, and I still don't, none of us know exactly how. I have my own theory based on I'm very much like him and just things that I like, intuition, gut instinct, those kinds of things I can't really put a number on. But he somehow foresaw the explosion in Spanish radio decades and decades ago. And he invested and he took action and he took a lot of risk to get in that. And he was a DJ. He was a slick, like salesman in the sense that he always had your back. He was always like, he would go into a store and be like, don't even know the person. There'd be no direct benefit for him. He'd just say, if you did this, this, and move that, and you shifted this, and you did this, you'd probably increase your sales or profits by 30%. Have a good day. You just do that. He was always thinking in business and like sales. He couldn't help it. And so this thing that I'm considering in my life right now, I don't want to overshare publicly, but this move I'm considering is a lot of people are not, almost everyone I know isn't in support of it. Mm-hmm. They think it's, they don't understand it. But to me, how I equate like my grandfather, who I really look up to, and he had Alzheimer's. He passed when I was like 14. So I missed a lot of years I wish I could have had with him as a grown man. But he had a huge impact on my life. And I could take him to Spanish radio, his dream, his courage, is like I think we're meant, I wouldn't say I think, I know we're meant to grow. We're meant to expand. We're meant to create. We are spiritual beings, like you said, in a human experience. And just for me, I'm not wired to sit in safety in a bubble and just be like, it drives me crazy. I can't do that. It's depressing. I have to keep journeying, expanding, growing, creating, seeking. That's just how I'm wired. And this, to me, when I think of my grandfather to Spanish radio, this is me to this thing. I don't feel comfortably explaining it all publicly right now, but to my big life investment and move.
Yeah.
And it's scary and it's beautiful. And that brings me to another point of the baggage, that the deeper layers of baggage for me that has come up in the last couple weeks with this, in the actions that I've taken, has been a little humbling, but also kind of like, I'm not surprised. Mm-hmm. But I think what's cool is to how you and I live, people we know in this world we're in of personal development, is because, been teaching it for years, been living this way for many years. And even though I'm going deeper in the levels of baggage, the tools I've been honing more and more. So even though it can be more kind of gunky old stuff that can be, just years prior would have totally knocked me down, and for like just would have been far more difficult to navigate. But it's like, even though the baggage can get more deeper, more difficult, my point is our tools we hone get sharper and more pristine, and our confidence knowing, wow, this is way more uncomfortable as a starting point of addressing a baggage point than things I've addressed before. But my system, my experience of it is way better because I have the tools, I'm honing the tools, I teach the tools, I'm practicing the tools all the time, but I just even know that. And like that knowledge is really cool. And so I think it's really important, because I think when you are set to achieve something that you've never done, or people in your family have never done, or maybe you're just your ancestors or whatever, like it's going to be probably wildly uncomfortable, but that doesn't have to mean that it's negative. And it's really exciting and scary. And it's like every successful person I know, like you can't really get around that.
Yeah.
You just have to go through it. Like whether it's personal growth or seeking something you haven't had before, it's the same principle. So I'm literally going through that in a level I've never gone through in ways in real time. It's exciting, it's scary, but it's like I can feel, it's almost like I'm tapping into my grandfather. Like I can feel. It's like, Grandpa, I can't explain it, but I would bet everything that I know this is how you did what you did. It's like you just had a knowing, and you had to go after it. You had to. So.
That's really interesting, man. I love that.
Yeah.
I think a neat reflection on that, and something to just like really encourage people stepping into that process, you as well. And like we've talked about this, you know this, but I think like the jumping off point is huge. Like the intensity around like I'm actually doing it. You've made the decision. The actions haven't. They've started. You've started the actions toward that.
Hasn't fully transpired though, yeah.
There are more actions that you will be taking
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
continue to step into that, and that's life. Like there's always more actions. Like there's always sequential things and steps to everything we do, and there will be even after you do it, even when successful. But what I want to say is just like how important it is to maintain that clarity, that even whether it be journaling about it, meditating on it, um, reminding yourself, because I think regardless of how good our communities are, part of our learning here in life is learning to trust what's going on inside. And inevitably, I think the universe brings us up against things where we are the only ones who agree with us.
Yes.
And I think that's really important to know starting the journey, but I think it's even more important during the journey.
Amen.
Because if things don't go great, like when everyone around you is like, "Meh, I told you," like you have to go back to that place that knew it was the
Yes.
right fucking choice for you.
Gold.
And you
Gold.
may be your only company there. Like obviously my hope, just as your families or whoever, other people that love and support you, be like that we would be on your side. But the universe works in a lot of mysterious ways, and
Yeah.
sometimes us being on your side is not being on your side, so that you can learn the lesson uh, of trusting yourself, of trusting the universe, trusting that inside,
Amen,
and
brother.
that's uncomfortable to, in reality, to know that even in our deepest friendships, maybe especially in our deepest friendships, we can often be an instrument that is uncomfortable and is disconnected and not on the same page. And as someone who is, we both are, but deeper relational, like that's hard for me to swallow. Like I don't ever want to be the part of somebody's life that's like not reflecting their beauty or like supporting them. But I know that that has happened and will happen, and it's happening for me and the other
Right.
person at times.
Yeah. All
And
the
I don't
time.
think it stays that way. Like life is not, it's not stagnant when we're participatory. It's not stagnant when we're showing up.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
like, I think those periods and those times that we're disconnected, like we will have opportunity to recover. We will have opportunity to repair the relationship and grow from it and see. Um, in no way does that mean we'll see any of that in
The
the actual
moment.
event, in the
Oh
moment,
yeah.
in the strife, in the
Yeah.
disconnection.
Often not.
Often not. And that, back to the universe, like that, it wouldn't have the power in our own lives if we did know that. We've talked about this a few times. It keeps coming up in my life. It's like
Hmm.
having the cheat codes to a video game. Like you're not gonna know how it's gonna turn out in the middle of it. You can't. Like there's no learning in that if you did.
Yeah.
And I fundamentally believe that's why we're here. We're here to evolve,
Hmm.
and it's a very unique thing per person. Based on the individual. Like my evolution is not your evolution, and I'm grateful that we've had a neat opportunity to share a lot of the journey together recently and evolve together. But the paths are going to be unique. The struggles are going to be unique. The individual
Yeah.
relationships are their own thing. And it's exciting, man. It's really exciting and terrifying. Like it is both. Those are very similar. Can be a similar energy. Um, and how we choose to frame it, step into it, and just I'm excited for you. Um, it's gonna be cool, and I love like thinking about your life and the pieces that I do know. Like you're not a this is not a new thing for you jumping into like the unknown or something that seems different than whatever else is
No.
doing. Like
No.
quitting a successful business and moving to India. I mean, like there's a lot of
Yeah.
uh, there's a
It's
track
not my first
record
rodeo.
and there's a track record of that being like the most amazing things you've done. Like the most
Exactly.
transformative aspects of your life have been
Would never take it back.
different. Um,
Yeah.
and I
I'm
think,
not a typical dude.
and I wonder how many of us actually are,
few of us are. There is no,
if we're
yeah.
actually living in that connection, you know? I
Well
think
said.
living in
Yeah.
baggage, we're all pretty similar. Uh,
Ooh, dude, you're dropping some gems today.
like
Okay.
I think our
Yeah.
baggage is very common. I think our
Yes.
when we're living on the fringes of who we are and at that
Hmm.
uh that uncomfortable zone, like right on the edges of who we are all the time. I think that's where we get to see like how unique we all are. Um there's just
Agree.
there's just not a ton of us that are doing that
Yes.
at every given moment.
Yes.
Yeah, it's cyclical too, but
That's well
well,
said.
that's really
That's very
interesting.
well. That was a great point, man. That was a great point. I think you're so right. When people are living in their baggage, that's the, avoid fear, safety,
Mm-hmm,
security,
mm-hmm.
and just small and reactive and always trying to do everything to feel better immediately. And it's like just old kids and old bodies,
Yeah.
you know. And it's, that's fine. A lot of people, it's like cool. That's not how I'm wired. To your point, though, like I think that's your like. I think that is the norm.
Mm.
For me, inherently negative because I'm not
Mm-hmm.
wired that way. For others, maybe it's inherently positive. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not my style. But I love how you said that. You dropped that gem there. It's like the getting out of that is getting out of the norm, and it doesn't mean you're special. It's just the choices that you've made for whatever reason that's driving that,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
that's what's like, people that inspire me the most are the people that's how they live.
Yeah.
Um, it's really, yeah. You dropped several gems today. That's and it's in that terrifying piece. What's interesting is nothing about the physical actions or the this or the that. Nothing real or not real. Nothing tangible or action based is terrifying in itself, right? It's like the emotional, mental stuff, right?
Mm.
Nothing inherently is terrifying in what I'm doing. And you made a good point. Like I have a track record of taking very unorthodox decisions in life. They always work out wonderfully for me, even if I don't
Mm-hmm.
understand in the moment. And I don't fully understand that, honestly. I could say that's how I'm wired. I could say that's my character. Maybe that's me as a soul, part of my just my consciousness. Like I
Mm.
don't understand it, but my grandfather was. I'm wired that way. Other people in my family, not wired that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more like him than anyone else by far. And which comes with its ups and downs. But like when I see this, it's like I just don't know. I think there's something else here I haven't really pinpointed, but it's like it's like when something keeps coming up for you, whatever it is, whether it's becoming a ballet dancer or going to India or just asking for that promotion or saying I love you to someone, it could be anything.
Mm.
It's like when that keeps coming up, the Jewish call it your kishkas or your gut or your instinct, or there's these different names with nuances, but like you just can't kick this thing.
Mm.
Please have some courage to take action, because I believe it's those things in life. And some, for me, I think whether it's just you get a few opportunities or less than a handful in your life where something's that loud
Mm.
and it's like you just can't ignore it. I feel like all the studies on people that are in their deathbeds or, in geriatric facilities or just older people that are like giving their wisdom on life, it's like these are the moments that people regret most when they didn't take action. And it's like I just have this knowing right now. I'm like, I have to do this. I just have to. It has consumed me, and it's not an overnight thing. It's not this impulsive thing. I've been researching this for years, but it's been months. It's just been growing and growing and growing, and I think that's like that life. That's that exciting unknown about life, and it shifts from scary, unknown, irresponsible, to have I done the research? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have this thing I can't kick? All right, let me listen to it. Take some action. And then grow in the process. And there was something you said too I wanted to shed some light on again is I had it. I just had it. Something you shared about the process. And I thought it's so true. Okay, I was literally discussing this with someone yesterday. So that's why I got excited, partly because I'm like, dude, great timing. Oh my God. Um, is one of the things very successful people have a pattern of teaching. And as a human experience, I'm gaining more of this. I have for many years, but it's growing like at a faster and faster pace. And this is like a big step up for me on a whole new realm, is your point. Like, it's not just in the start. I love how you said this. It's not just in the start of trusting yourself, but it's after you've started. I think it typically gets harder.
Yeah, I do too.
And it could take months or years or even decades. I think more typically years until either the people you respect or love or want that approval from don't need it, but you might want it, or just people in your social circle or your community, it might take years for them to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I've never at this level considered something where I'm going to have to face that much backlash of people that I know and people that love me, people that care about me. They don't know what I know. They haven't researched what I've researched. They don't understand the science of what I've studied. And so that literally came up for me yesterday in a way that it hasn't. I mean, it's come up before, right?
Yeah.
Obviously. But at this level, I hadn't discussed it and been so acutely aware of this specific principle. And it's beautiful. I didn't even tell you that, right? And you just said that. And I think, I'm assuming, because of your own journey, you face this in huge ways. I do know in certain ways you faced it hugely. And I think it's one of the most freeing things and scary to face. And it's typically tied to, I think, family baggage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wanted to relight that up because you made a great point that's 100% true for me right now.
I think too, like this idea of, how much we've talked about and hear about, you know, successful people being more immune to this idea of failure, that like
Yeah.
holds them back, like that it's feedback. This idea that like because this didn't work out doesn't mean this doesn't work, because this trajectory or like what I'm doing doesn't work. And I think that's really huge too. Um, and a lot of people, especially when we're letting those voices in, they take a big risk. It doesn't work. Like, it's the last big risk they take. And I think there's so much in that perceived failure, and I'm going to call it perceived failure because I
Like that.
just I really struggle with that idea in my mind. I'm not saying it's not something that I don't still fear. I'm not saying it doesn't still come up and hold me back, or at least give me
Slow
pause,
you down.
slow
Yeah.
me down moving into
Yeah.
things. I'm not saying that. I would not consider myself immune to that at this point. And I don't know if anybody ever really gets that way. They learn a habit of moving forward anyway. They learn a
Yeah.
habit
I
of
like
like
that.
choosing
Yeah.
other. Um, and I think like that's a really important thing to know here in this, like what you're stepping into. Like it could look miserable in a year. Like your choice could look awful. That doesn't mean it's not going to be a great choice in 3 years or five
Yep.
years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's like your ability to make it through that perceived failure into the line.
If it happens, yes.
And it's just like, and if it doesn't happen here, it'll happen somewhere else, because this is just a
Yeah.
function of like how the universe shows up in our growth. It just is.
True.
And this isn't about like you did bad research or like what. There's so much more going on than that, and you know that. And I think like
Oh, yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why I'm so excited for you, is stepping into this. But I've had some clients recently, on the in the investment world. I get so excited. We were so close to finding. Well, I mean, we found we're so close to actually stepping into and purchasing this really neat property that had amazing potential to generate income for itself, and quite literally probably within the first year would be paying for itself in excess. And this is $1 million plus property, and as an early purchase for young humans, like huge number with no history of that. Like this is new for them, new for their family, like stepping into this. And some stuff came up and it ended up like not going through. Like it seemed like the best course was not. And there was, and I think there probably still is grief happening within them and the feelings of like a missed opportunity or missed potential because of whatever else. I'm really grateful to work with them and know them because they have a deep sense of their connection to the universe and to the purpose and the spiritual and why they're here. Um, and know that this is working out for them and this is happening for them and not to them, regardless of whether they can see that in this moment. That doesn't make it less painful to miss this opportunity that they've wanted for years, finally feel like it was legitimately like within their grasp, and for that to melt away. I mean, that is painful, but there's been some really neat things that have come out of it. They've noticed through that process some ways that some insecurities, some fears. I don't want to name all them because they're not mine. But the baggage coming up, and even between them as a couple, and so they've come away from this experience. They've they've dived into like learning about each other more, to getting like outside, and they have a great relationship, but like actually seeking like marriage counseling and marriage like support to further develop their connection with each other, to hear and to be able to communicate. And I was sitting with this yesterday. I was like, I mean, what if that was the reason that this all happened anyway? To like give them an opportunity to step into an even deeper intimacy and connection and trust in each other and joy of their life together, and connect in a way that will give them a platform to grow and accelerate in ways they never could have without that platform. And yet from a certain angle you could easily say this was like this was a huge bummer, like this was a failure, like you missed an opportunity. And I don't buy into uh that thought path. I don't want to buy into that energy, because I truly don't think things happen coincidentally or as an accident. I don't, and I know I've said this a lot. I don't know. I don't think that means you know why it's happening. I don't think that inevitably means you'll have clarity on what's coming out of that. But I think you can, and I think it's possible to consistently connect with the harmony, with the grace, with the joy, with the abundance that happens through perceived failure or perceived misses. And I think that has a whole lot more to do with our internal orientation and choices than it has anything to do with the outside or physical manifestation of life around us. Um, so I think it was just a really encouraging and exciting opportunity to witness with a couple of neat individuals something that seems like a failure that is leading to something that's really beautiful, and I think can and will fundamentally change their lives moving forward in a very different way than that property would have. um, and this could lead to
Yeah.
this could lead to 100 properties of them operating together and congruently and connecting, um, where this might have, had they just stepped into this, it might have been the last one because of like what it had caused with the relationship and stuff. So there's just I think that's just offering another viewpoint of perceived failure.
Yeah.
And so much of it's just timing. It's just like where we look at our story, when we pick our own story looking back, like where you choose to like dive into that timeline at different places, like it can look pretty awful. It can look like this had no idea where it was going. Like this is a downward spiral.
Yeah.
But when the further back you step, you get to see, I think the pathways leading to other pathways, the connections, the
Yeah.
intertwine, the people it connected you with that it wouldn't have, that, led to different relationships, different connection with your family, different connection with yourself, just how beautiful that can become. Um, yeah, I'm excited, man. And And I think the more intense it is, the bigger the lessons we open ourselves up to. Like,
Yeah.
uh, not comfort, but bigger lessons. And out
Yeah.
of that, I think bigger joy, bigger grace, more excitement.
Yeah.
Comfort's a weird one. I don't know that it. I like comfort. I love it, but I don't know how much of our journey it's really like it's supposed to be a part of it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think that's why we're here. I really enjoy it, and I mean that. Like, you know me. Like, I've been incredibly uncomfortable lots of my life, but I really like being comfortable. And
Yeah.
creature comforts um but it just I'm not driven toward it. It doesn't excite me.
Yeah.
It doesn't push me
Yeah.
toward anything else. um Often at the end of prolonged comfort is boredom, guilt, depression. For me, I'm speaking for me.
Same for
Those are
me.
things that I've encountered. It's like, man, I love comfort, but if I stay there very long, there's some other
You
very
shrink.
uncool things that come up in my life
Yes. And they
every time.
sneak up on you.
Isolation,
Yep.
scarcity,
Yep. Fear.
the list goes on.
Yeah, it's just crap. It's just ugh. It's like a muscle you just stop working out, it just shrivels up.
It's like
It just
recovery
shrivels.
phase is very important. I think just like weightlifting, like it's necessary to pause,
Yeah.
to center, to relax as part of a cycle, not as what we're doing here.
Not as a state, not as a default way of
Yeah.
living. Yeah. Yeah. I think anything else you want to share there? Because I totally agree with
I
that.
just
And that's
think
a
like
great point.
that's a lot of like our pushback we feel again, consciously or unconsciously from our culture, because that's I think you could easily say that's a lot of what our culture pushes. Like so much of why we do what we do in America to make money is to increase comfort, and it seems often for the ability to that just be what you do, like make enough money so that you don't have to do anything.
I know it's
And
backwards.
it's like all the successful people I actually know who've made nations worth of money don't stop working. Like they've realized that it wasn't that made them happy. It wasn't that like ignited them. It was like the participation, the risk taking, the journey, the excitement of creating and connections,
Yeah.
and those who do just get the money and stop are miserable.
Yeah.
At least the ones I've encountered.
Same. Yeah, same. It's yeah, I think I've heard this time and time again is that philanthropy is one of the greatest rewards and people have made it, whether it's continuing to work or it's that giving back, and it's that cycle of on the path up to whatever material success I had in mind or tangible, like you have to grow. And I think that's what we talk about. It's the journey, it's the growth, it's the creation, it's the expansion, it's fun, it's fun and it's scary. It's like a game, It's like living the beats. Let's play. I'm gonna scrape my knee. I want to go play again.
Yeah.
And then it's not like, okay, cool. I play with everyone in the neighborhood. Now I'm gonna go sit in the backyard and twiddle my thumbs. That's depressing. It's like, cool, play now. Well, let's try to teach those kids how to play. Let's like help them build a soccer net so those kids can play. And you start giving back, and I think it's like it's participation, creation, growth. There's an energy exchange, and when you get to this end goal and you just stop the energy exchange, it's like it's very, very unhealthy in every way, very unhealthy. And so I think that's important, and I think it's as a man too. I love several men I've heard talk about this, but it's like I know a lot of women feel this way as well. I'm a man, so I'll speak as a man. The idea of doing what I need to do to grow and expand and create for the dreams I have at the magnitude those lie and or those stand, or that whatever level I see them at, as small or big as they are, and knowing that if anyone in my family or anyone I really love and care about needed help or support within reason of values, and assuming someone's like a crackhead or just doing something completely going against my value system, I'm not going to be like, yeah. I mean, it just depends. But like, to know that I have grown, I have faced my baggage, I'm giving back, I'm participating, and I have expanded to where I got you. I hope, or maybe I'll give you a fish, but then let me help you teach you how to fish.
Mhm.
And I think there's that two things that come up. Everyone's quoting this now. So many people is, great time, hard times
Mm.
make strong men, strong people make easy times make weak people make hard times. And there's that piece that's at play. And then the whole thing of like generationally, right? Like, show me the billionaire who's the son of a billionaire that was self-made. Almost doesn't exist. And so I think you take those principles and it's like, God, let's just grow and face our stuff and have courage. And then as a man, for me to know that I am getting closer and closer to not this retiree, small energy castrated end goal of just doing nothingness. It's cool. I'm now able to give back and engage with the world more, and I can help and support those closest to me if they need it or teach them something. It's like, I got you. I love you. I got you. And there's something for me as a man that's cool too.
Mm.
That's really cool.
Mm.
But if we don't face our demons or our baggage, and if we don't have the courage to expand, I don't think we ever get there.
I fundamentally agree, and I do think a neat thing is that life will continue to give us opportunities to step into that. Like, at any
Always,
age,
yeah.
like, you can spend
Yes.
60 years not doing that, or 70 or 80, and like, if you're still breathing, like, life is still giving you an opportunity to step into
Well
that.
said.
And I think I've been seeing that more and more in my life, and that's really neat. I've got a couple people in my community that are well into their 70s that are shifting huge parts of their lives, and how they orient
Nice.
themselves and how they're showing up. And it's heartwarming is the word that comes to mind, but it's so much more than that. Like, it's so affirming of like how I understand the universe, and like just the fact that we're here to learn and have so many opportunities to do that. And we can choose we can choose what we want. But seeing these people late in life light up in a way, and I obviously haven't known them their whole life. I haven't been alive for half of it. But as they've shared it, to be experiencing life in such a categorically different way, um, to be having different relationships, to be having different physical abilities, and just stepping into that creation, stepping into that fear, that what if, at an age that our society largely writes people off, you know, largely starts isolating them and putting them in homes and like, getting them out of the way of the rest of society, which is really
Missing all the
weird
wisdom.
about our
Yeah.
community,
Yeah.
about our
Very.
society.
Yeah.
But it's really neat to see people uh, on an individual level choose other, uh, and see their independence in a very different way, and still desire to participate. And I don't know, it it really encourages me for myself and like my ability to continue to do that late into life, um, but also for others whose journey hasn't even started in that way, because they haven't chosen to step into it. Like, the option's always been there, but and I would suggest that they've once they do turn that corner, like, life's given them a lot of lessons they can look back on and learn from, at any point you choose to do so. Um, Breadcrumbs, like, there's just whether we have the ability to see them. Um, I do think we're always capable of gaining that ability, uh, even if we don't feel like we start with it.
I think that's a great place to phase out this episode. I totally agree. I think two quick things that come up is the Chinese proverb that says something like, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, the second best time is now.
Hmm.
And just when I look at, the actors, I'm blanking on their names, but the guy that played Magneto in the X-Men movies, the
Hmm.
guy that played, Gandalf in Lord of the Rings, like those, I think that might be the same. I think that's the same guy,
I think it's the same guy.
right? And even like in some of the Harry
There was
Potter
a couple
movies, like
Gandalfs, but yeah.
right, yeah, like some of these guys, these actors, actresses, like they didn't hit it big
Hmm.
till they were like 60, 50.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's
I think
wild.
that's really interesting. I recently saw, I don't know, it might have been put out by Gary Vee because that's a thing he's huge on, as we've talked about multiple
Yeah.
times. But it was just like, has like 12 or 13 people who we all know who they are, who's like started at 40, happened at 55.
Yeah, I think that's the
Bill
same thing I
Walton,
saw.
it probably was. Bill Walton didn't start Walmart till he was 44.
There you go. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
That's it.
like, like he changed. I don't know. It's just like success and wealth on a level like we rarely see in history in 20 years, you know?
40, 50, 60,
I mean, it
7 years.
is
Yeah.
more now, but like within 20 years, he was experiencing unimaginable success. So by the time he was 64 from 44, just like the change that had happened, and obviously now, I mean, like he's passed, but it's just incredible. I mean, it's an absolute empire.
Yeah.
But it's like
Yeah.
that happened really recently and really late in his life.
Yeah. It's never too late.
It's never too late.
Never.
Cool,
All right,
man.
man. This is fantastic. Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks
See you
again.
next time.